Hey everyone, my name is Katie Stone, and welcome to Set in Stone, where we set in stone the foundational principles of all things related to social justice and just giving people the information that they need on issues that happen across the South, mainly in Alabama, but really across the country. And today I have the honor of interviewing the host herself, Candida Snow. Like, this is so cool. It's such an honor. But as you know, before we get started, I definitely want to read her bio because it's pretty legit. Candida Stone, a proud native of Montgomery, Alabama, is a dynamic force in the realm of social change. She currently serves as a leader in a local nonprofit across the state. A distinguished alumna of Troy University, she holds a Bachelor's of Arts in Spanish and American Sign Language, accompanied by a minor in International Relations. With an extensive background in nonprofit advocacy and political spheres, Candida has made impactful contributions through her roles at the Alabama House of Representatives, Feminist Majority Foundation, International Center for Empowerment, Alabama Forward, and various political campaigns. Initiating her journey in 2011 at the age of 14, Candida fearlessly championed her father's cause, who faced an unjust 60-year sentence for selling marijuana. Through her relentless advocacy, she successfully secured his release in 2016, igniting a lifelong commitment to justice and social change across Alabama communities. In 2008, following her father's release, she joined forces with 4 other courageous women in Montgomery, Alabama, to challenge the commemoration of Confederate figures in public education. Their advocacy focused on renaming 3 high schools in Montgomery, Alabama, as well as campaigning for the permanent removal of Robert E. Lee statue displayed at the school bearing his name. Through persistent effort and community mobilization, this initiative achieved success in 2023 when all targeted schools were officially renamed, marking a significant step towards reconciling with the region's complex history. From 2019 to 2022, Candida dedicated herself to the role of Youth Development Coordinator for Women in Training, which is a nonprofit committed to combating period poverty. Advocating for menstrual education, equality, and social justice, she played a pivotal role on the lobbying team that successfully championed legislation in Alabama, allocating $200,000 to provide period products in public schools and addressing the critical issue of menstrual supplies for underprivileged girls. In 2022, Candida played an integral role in the Alabama team, contributing to the National Dignity Campaign, leading to the passage of the Dignity for Incarcerated Women Act in 21 states, including Alabama. This transformative legislation prohibits the shackling of incarcerated pregnant women. Undeterred in her pursuit of justice, in 2021, Candida filed a lawsuit along with 4 other brave souls challenging Alabama's gerrymandered congressional maps, known as Allen v. Milligan. The Supreme Court in 2023 ordered the state to redraw its congressional maps. And continuing her fight in fair representation, she filed another case against Alabama in 2023, challenging their state Senate maps that went to trial in October of 2024, also known as Stone v. Allen, but now is Alabama NAACP versus Allen. Candida's passion for collective liberation and commitment to justice and equity is further exemplified by her role on the board of United for a Fair Economy, which is a national organization dedicated to combating economic inequality. And her health of experience has honed her abilities to organize communities, strategize effectively, conduct outreach, and develop impactful advocacy and political campaigns. Embodying the spirit of James Baldwin's wisdom, ignorance allied with power is the most ferocious enemy justice can have. Candida continues to be a fearless advocate. Outside of her endeavors, she finds solace in reading, gardening, hosting her podcast, and cherishing moments with family and friends. Girl, what a bio. Clap it up for you, girl. Thank you so much for coming on Set in Stone. I'm super excited to just get to know who you are and, have this conversation with you. So thank you so much. Katie, girl, it is such an honor to be here in your midst. And I'm super excited for this interview. I think people need to know, like, pieces of me, not all of me at once, but like pieces of me. I think it's important for people to know that. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to do this. All right. So, first question, who is Candida Stone? Candida, who am I? That's such a great question. I would consider myself someone that's extremely multifaceted. I'm pretty talented. I like to share my talents when it's time. I don't like to just bust open with all my talents. Um, but I also consider myself like a leader. I've always been like outspoken about certain things. I'm extremely fun to be around. Like I bring the party wherever I go. I can attest to that. Um, so yeah, that's just a little bit about who I am. And I'm just so proud of how far you've come, even through the midst of like all those challenges. Would you mind telling me about your upbringing? Yeah, absolutely. I love talking about my upbringing. It was very interesting. So I grew up in I went to private school most of my life up until 10th grade. And I also grew up in an all white church where like my family was like the only black family out of like three or four. I did go to like Kojic Church of God in Christ Church growing up. But I think like after age 5 or 6, we kind of parted ways. So I had a very interesting upbringing. I think the public school thing really molded me into the woman I am today because that was such a culture shock and just like going and being the sheltered kid. And I don't even gonna say I was completely sheltered. There were things that I knew about, but like it's a vast difference between private school and public school. And man, whew, what a time. What a time. What a time. Oh wow, that's pretty intense. So what was the public school experience like for you? Wow. So I cried every day for the first like month to 2 months. Like every day after school, I would like cry because it was just so hard. Like it was just so many things that I was experiencing that I didn't even know was possible. These might sound like simple things, but I didn't know girls my age could get pregnant. Like I literally had no idea. Like, why are you 15, 16, 14, 15, 16 pregnant? Like your mama ain't tell you to go outside and play, or like you not in no extracurricular activities, like just things like that I just was not privy to. Like growing up, my mama always had me in something. I was always doing something. I played sports in middle school, elementary school, high school, all the things. So like I just wasn't used to seeing that. And then you also had like kids who were just bad, like bad. I don't know where them bad kids at now, but I hope they turn their life around because looking back at my age now and then like seeing how old I was then, like those kids, what y'all got going on? So it was just a very kind of different environment for me. I also went to the public school when it was a time of transition. So we had a lot of principals coming in and out. And it was like this particular year, my first year, we had like metal detectors and we couldn't go into the school. So everybody went into went into the metal detector. So like, we couldn't go into school until 12 o'clock. And then we in first period all day. And then we take our afternoon classes, the rest of the day. So it was just like a very, very interesting to say the least. Where private school provided a lot of stability. It was very everyday, same thing, you know what I'm saying? Whereas public school, that was not the experience. And so it was a lot of different things that I had to just learn through, to say the least. Wow. I mean, it sounds like you experienced a lot, just in those last years of high school, which brings me to my next question. Can you talk about middle school for you? What was that like? Yeah, middle school was rough. Oh my gosh, I was getting bullied. I hated boys. They were so annoying. My dad went to prison. Just figuring out friends and like who I am. It was just so rough. It was so annoying. I'm so glad not to be in middle school anymore. But if I had the same attitude that I do now, I would dominate middle school. I would dominate those kids. So that's just a little bit about my middle school upbringing. Wow. So it's something that stood out to me that you said. You mentioned that your father was in prison. Can you talk about that? Yeah. So my dad was sentenced 6 years in prison for selling marijuana, which is now legal medicinally or recreationally in 38 states. It could be more. Last time I checked was 38 states. And so I really, at the time when it happened, I come home from school. First I leave home thinking it's just another normal day. I come home from school, house is a mess. I asked my mom, like, what's wrong? She's like, oh, I couldn't find my keys. Girl, the carpet from the stairs was pulled up. Her bedroom walls had holes in it. Bed was flipped up. Like, it was just craziness. All of this for some keys. I had no idea. And so it wasn't until like a few days later, like maybe 1 or 2 days later, my mom like told us like your dad went to prison, and like, when it happened, like I kind of felt something wasn't off because like my dad ain't come home. Like, what you got going on, So I didn't really know what was going on at the time, but I knew it was something. And so at the time, I'm a kid. I'm 13. I'm like, what can I do? I didn't really know what to do, really. I really thought about my sisters in that moment and like how they would feel. They were kids. I mean, I was a kid myself, but it didn't feel like I was a kid sometimes. But so when I turned 14, I got to Page at the Alabama House of Representatives, and it really wasn't until I was sitting in that room and I like recognized these people are making laws about life, about people's lives. They get to dictate what they can do, when they can do it, how they can do it, where they can do it. And so for me, it clicked like, oh, somebody in here gonna help me get my dad out of jail. And so like from there, I just like started to talk to representatives, senators, lobbyists, whoever would listen. Really, like I didn't care. I was a kid, like I didn't see it as a big deal. I just felt like I was doing what was right. I felt like somebody needed to help me get my daddy out of jail because murder is not even getting 60 years, 60. You feel me? So it was just like really, it was a journey. But thankfully, he's out now. He's actually been able to secure his pardon and his parole. So, kudos to him. Yeah. Wow, what a story. So like set the scene for me. You're 14, going up to grown people, saying all this stuff. Like, what was that like for you? Yeah, free my daddy. I'm grown saying free my dad. I started with like a representative in the county that he was sentenced in, because he wasn't sentenced where we lived at the time. And so started with them. They pointed me to somebody. Went to somebody else. They pointed me to other folks. So it was kind of like a point, and I just kept working those points. I kept going back. Something I did that it's okay now. Shoot, that was 14 years ago. It don't matter. Well, 14, 15, not 14 years ago. 14, 13, 12, 11 years ago. I kept my page badges and I would go in there, skip school. Okay, most kids would skip school to go have sexual relations and go to McDonald's and like do smoke and like drug, just all those things. I was skipping school to go to a criminal justice committee hearing because at the time they didn't have recording. So I would wear my little badge, like page badge, and I would go in there and say, oh, I'm paging for the week, just so I can get on the House floor to go talk to a representative or a senator. And especially when it was times when like, it was like a criminal justice reform bill that was coming up, like I was adamant, I need to go to the meeting. I need to go talk to them. I need to go see who it was. And so eventually it just came to a point where I was able to like talk to each of the power players. And just for the sake of discretion, I'm not going to say who those power players were. But it was one particular day where I talked to each power player like in one day. And I was like, mission accomplished. And it just so happened to be like a few months before. Well, it was kind of like a year before. And then it happened again a few months before my dad's parole was up. So that was really like what the scene was like, just doing what I had to do. I felt like it was necessary. I felt like I need to get it done. And in that moment I thought about my sisters and like how my dad was gonna miss my first everything. Like he missed my first dance, my high school graduation. Like he missed so many pivotal moments in my life, and I was like, I really don't want my sisters to go through that. So I think that's what always kept me going in the back of my mind. Yeah, and to be honest, 14 is crazy. Did you ever realize what you had been doing, or was it just something that, what did you feel? Girl, no, I was just doing it. I don't know. I was just doing it. And it's not until now, until people are like, oh my gosh, 14. And it's for me. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, 14. Like, girl, where do you get this tenacity, this bravery from? Because, like, I don't know. I'm not going to lie. People don't be thinking like that. The average individual is not thinking like that. So yeah, and I obviously could not have been done without two women. Carolyn for telling my mom about the program. Major shout out to her, because had I not known about that paging program, I wouldn't have been able to be in a position to get my dad out. Secondly, Ernestine. I owe Ernestine everything. Whatever Ernestine want from me, she get from me. That woman really, really did it. Like, she really helped me in ways that I can't even properly explain. So I owe them everything. Like, those two women owe everything to them. They can get whatever they want from me. So no, I didn't realize it at 14. Yeah, I think that's so powerful, for you to be at such a young age to be able to accomplish something like that, and to, as you said, not even realize what you were doing, but you knew that something in it, like, you had to do something about it. So I really admire that about you. So thank you so much. So now I'm gonna switch gears, and I'm gonna talk about what was life like during your high school. I know you did some pretty cool things during high school, so I'd love if you'd talk about that. So high school, I spent my summers in Haiti during high school. Even though I talked about how not tragic, but how difficult high school was for me. I did spend a chunk of my summers in Haiti interpreting for the deaf. So when the earthquake happened in 2010, my church started sending people down to Haiti that knew sign language, and it was like, hey, you want to go? Kind of like it was pretty much like a mission trip, but it didn't feel like a mission trip to me because I was in community with deaf people. In Haiti, if you're seen as deaf, you are seen as bottom barrel trash. And I didn't like that, It was just like, I want to go talk to these people, make them feel included. They need to know that they're also a part of the community, like, just really young and like wanting to be a voice for the voiceless, And I knew that I knew sign language, so it was just easy for me to hop on down there. Wow. So, and you did that in high school? That's crazy. In sign language, like, how did you get started in that? Like, what is that phenomenon? How did that even happen? Yeah, girl. My uncle put me in a deaf camp when I was little. He told my mama I need to be in camps where I was learning something. So, shout out to my uncle. I love him. I love him. I love you forever. I'm not gonna say your name because of discretion, but I love you forever. And so, just sign language, and then like I went to school for sign language, and just that's just where my heart is. Like, if I do speak 4 languages, so like out of the 4, sign language is the one that has my heart the most because I feel so connected to it. I don't know how, but like when I'm around deaf people, like I really feel like I'm at home. Oh wow. So how did that play a role into like, I guess, who you are today? Like what did sign language do for you, like on a larger scale? I went to school for sign language at Troy. Go Trojans! For sign language and Spanish with international relations. And so I loved my Troy time. Love my Troy time. Oh, go Trojans, girl. I know that's right. Troy University. Yeah, so that's so cool. I love that. Like, so you went to school for sign language and Spanish and a minor in international relations. I think that's super cool. Can you talk about your Troy experience? What was your experience at Troy? So my time at Troy was 10 stars. I did have some downfalls. We're not going to talk about the downfalls. I was in everything at Troy. I was in SGA. I was in RA. I was like I was a social justice warrior. We had a huge controversy at the university, and I brought it to folks' attention. The school had a town hall. So very on brand for me. I got text messages like, can you stop telling the news about? No, I won't, because we don't have that. We don't need to have that on this international campus. So I was a very outspoken individual. Like, I think that's just who I am at this point in my career. So go Trojans. Here's to the school I love. We are Trojans, one and all. I'm not going to finish the rest of the song, but you get the point. Yeah, here's to the school we love. I know that's right. So I know you talked about being like involved in SGA, being an RA, all those things. Were you ever like involved in social justice during your school days? I assume that you were, but I don't want to assume. I want to ask. So were you? After the work with my father, I was actually at the same time like singing country music around Montgomery and surrounding areas like Millbrook, Prattville, stuff like that. And I have went to Nashville for an internship with the Nashville Center for Empowerment, which is a refugee nonprofit. They relocate refugees, help refugees find jobs. And then also around that time, I started to like take up Arabic lessons. So, and a lot of the refugees that were in Nashville at the time were that spoke Arabic. And so I was doing the country music thing and doing the social justice related work. And I moved to Nashville for the summer, like in hopes to like start singing at a bar and like, you know, just really focusing on country music. But then I came to a point where it was just like, how can I do both? Can I do both? I don't know if I can do both. I don't even know what doing both looks like because at the time, majority of country music listeners that I knew about were white people. And a lot of white people was not trying to hear, you know, this was around the time where Trump was doing his national Muslim ban, and a lot of white people was not trying to hear that. A black girl, first of all, I'm black, I'm singing country music, and then I'm sitting up here talking about Black Lives Matter. Because they do. But I was just stuck at the time with what the decision would be. And so that's what I started to do after my father got out. Wow. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And so the anti-Confederacy work, and what did it feel like going to that Capitol and seeing people still celebrating the Confederacy in the way that it was? Because you said that they had on like dresses, and like some guy came over to the rally where you said he was dressed like a Civil War person and was being nosy and was like, what's going on over here? Yeah, what kind of emotions did that bring up out of you? Because I can imagine like you were angry. Like you protesting on this side about how anti-Confederacy don't need to be happening, and then they on the side of the Capitol, government institutional building. So like what is that about? Anti-Confederacy work. So in like 2018, after I come back from Nashville, my housing situation just fell through absolute horrible wreck, whatever. So I come back, I immediately work on a school board campaign that I happen to be campaign manager over at the age of 20, which is super cool, you know. 20 years old doing that? Wow, blows my mind. Anyway, I spoke at an anti-Confederacy event, and right across the street behind the Capitol, it was actually an anti-Confederacy memorial program going on. People were dressed up in Civil War attire. We even had somebody from over there come over here and say, what's all this about? And I just told them straight up, like, we not going for that, celebrating the Confederacy. They some losers, you know? So that work went into that. But then also later on, a few years after that, was able to partner with like three other strong women, local women from Montgomery, who spoke out against Confederacy, Confederate memorials. And so that was eventually led to like the renaming of the schools later on in 2023, and things like that. So, yeah. So after that, where did you go to next? Like what kind of work did you start to work on then? Yeah, so like after that, I worked on reproductive rights work. Reproductive rights work with an organization called Women in Training. Their mom, I met the girls, they're Brianna and Brooke Bennett. They were like 12 years old. I get a call from my really good friend. She says, hey, I met these young girls and this mom. They really need help. They want to build this organization. So we talk, like, come up with a name, come up with a concept, all those things. And really, they're just like taking over. They've taken over. They focus on period poverty, making sure that women and girls across the country can have period products. And like, I applaud them because when they came to me, they were 11. I think 11 and 12, they were babies. So just to see them grow, they even got to speak at like Global Citizen United Festival in New York, like 2024, I think 2023. But just to see the growth that they've had, still feel honored to have been a part, like be a founding board member and to have been a part of that movement that they've really started around period poverty, because 1 in every 4 girls can only afford period products. And so it's just been I felt very honored to be a part of that. I'm glad you brought up, reproductive rights in the work that you did with Women in Training, because I don't think a lot of people even understand that like period poverty is a thing. People can't afford period products. Like they say, it's expensive. And as a woman, I know it's like $14 a little box, every month. That kind of add up, you know what I'm saying? And then You think about if you got kids, like all these things. So, that's very important. And shout out to those young girls for sure. Yeah, man, they're, very talented and bright, young women. And I'm so grateful to have been a part of that journey because we were also able to like pass legislation and, allow women and girls across the state to have free period products. There's a grant available for that for schools to apply for so that they can provide to their young girls in their schools free period products. Because as you know, it's expensive. Yeah, that's super cool. So, what did you do after the reproductive rights work? Like, what was going on then? So after the reproductive rights work, I got really kind of around the same time a little bit. It was like all intertwined because I had stuck with women in training for like 2-3 years. I got a fellowship called a Crowd Fellowship with the Southern Coalition for Social Justice, and I began to educate communities about redistricting, learn how to draw maps, become a trained, what you call maptitude individual. And so eventually that led to the Allen v. Milligan case, but also I was working for Alabama Forward, and we had like the first redistricting coalition call. So I just was learning a lot. Didn't even realize what I was doing, but just was ready to work, ready to educate people. Like I said, I'm a real power to the people person. So whatever that looked like. So it was a lot, but definitely grateful because we got that second congressional district. So it was worth it. Now I want to know the ins and outs of the Supreme Court case. Like, can you start from the beginning all the way to present day? I know it might be a little long, but I'm going to ask questions, So, ins and outs of the case. That was a lot. I was traveling across the country talking about the case. Shout out to my co-plaintiffs, so Evan Milligan. I absolutely adore Evan. I owe Evan a lot, and I'm going to say it publicly. Evan Milligan, I owe you so much. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you again. Shout out to Shalila Dowdy, Letitia Jackson, and two organizations, Greater Birmingham Ministries, and NAACP. So shout out to them. The ins and outs, it took a lot of educating communities. I wasn't the only Crowd Fellow. It was like 4 of us. And we were assigned different parts of the state in the fellowship. And so we also had like testimonial trainings for folks when they went before the reapportionment committee to talk about redistricting. It was just so much into that. It was so much. On top of like working for Alabama Forward, I was doing town halls in different cities across the state leading up to, just like part of the educational part that I was doing as a Crowd Fellow. It was a lot. That was a very busy time in my life. But like I said, I think it was worth it in the end because we did get the second congressional district. Wait. I just want to pause right there. It don't even, from as far as you done went now with the story, this don't sound like no work that you should just be in for a title. Because this not that. Girl, this is not no work you need to be in for no title. Okay? I was slaving. I don't like to say that, but it was very, very, very hard work. Like, extremely hard. A title, and I really just want to preface this, like, these jobs are just jobs at the end of the day. We should be working for other titles, such as like mom, wife, aunt, all those things that I aspire to be. Like I want to be a mom one day. I want to be a wife one day. Not gonna be, period. So like, those are the things that matter. Because at the end of the day, like, the grave isn't gonna say, like you said, the grave is not gonna say executive director, organizing director. It's not gonna say that. It's gonna say wife, mom, aunt, sister, cousin. Those are the things that matter. So yeah, it's not something you just get in for a title. If this is what you want to do for a title, you need to go work in corporate America. That's your best bet. but actually being on the ground in community with people, not gonna cut it. That's actually so real. Like at the end of the day, you know, the work titles don't matter. And to your point, your grave will say aunt, wife, mother, sister. It's not gonna say executive director, organizing director. Like none of those work titles don't matter at the end of the day. At the end of the day, on your graveyard, right? What carried you through those times? Because it's not easy. I'm sure it feels like the weight of the world. You know. I mean, obviously the Lord, amen. But it was a lot. I was actually in the middle of losing my best friend to cancer. And I had lost another friend, my first college friend to cancer, at the top of 2019. And so this case stuff started happening like 2020, 2021. But that same year I lost her, I found out a few months later in May of 2019 that my high school best friend, rest in power, rest in peace, Narissa, she had cancer. And so it was so much because I showed up for her, you know, going to her chemo appointments with her, talking to her, checking in with her. And her daughter is actually my goddaughter. So it was just a lot of that. And then I also like was dealing with like the betrayal of friends. I had broke up. I was like in the middle of like heartbreak with this guy. And so it was just like a lot of different things hit me at once on top of trying to save the world. So when you talk about the weight of the world, I felt the weight of the world, okay? On top of school, okay? Because I didn't graduate until 2022. So like it was just so much, you know? It was a lot. It was a lot. But definitely thankful because it molded me into who I am today. I'm actually so glad that you brought up your family. I want to know, are you the oldest child? It's not going to lie, it gives oldest child, but I'm not really sure. So are you the oldest? Absolutely, girl. I didn't know it gave oldest, but I am the oldest, ain't he? I'm the oldest. Oldest of 4. Shout out to my siblings whom I love so much. And for privacy reasons, I will not be saying their names, but if you know them, you know them. Shout out to my baby brother. My baby brother, I love you so much. I love you so, so, so much. So yeah, I am the oldest. Awesome. Yeah, I figured you were the oldest. So speaking of that, how did they come up with your name? Because I don't know about another Khadijah. Are there other Khadijahs? Have you met other Khadijahs? Like what's with your name? Yeah, so technically I wasn't supposed to be Khadijah. I was supposed to be Topanga. Topanga, like Boy Meets World? Boy Meets World. There is another Khadijah who I actually met probably 3 years ago, and she's actually in this work. She's older than me, she's significantly older than me. Like, I'm not saying she old, but she's older than me. Khadijah, I love you so much. She live in Pennsylvania. We just click. Like, I love her. I love Khadijah. Her name is Khadijah Kenner. Shout out to New Pennsylvania Project. I love her. And so, but I was really supposed to be Topanga off of Boy Meets World. My mama loved that show. And so, yeah. Okay, cool. Well, shout out to you, Mom. It's not basic like Katie. Yeah, thank you, Mom. Khadijah. Very good. Very good. You did your big one, girl. You did your big one. Khadijah, I love it. So, why the podcast? The podcast was 4 years in the making. And it took me so long to get here because I spoke about a little bit, you know, what I was going through over the past 4 years of that time. And those 4 years felt like forever. I'm so glad to be out of that stage. I'm so glad to be out of that stage because it was just so much dealing with it so much. And I had one friend who stuck with me the whole time, and I want to shout her out. Shout out to Zoya. She held me down in like my most trying times, particularly when it came to the podcast and like the vision I had and like what I wanted to see. And like, so this is like, people think I just woke up one day and was like, ooh, I want to do a podcast. No, this has been something for 4 years. And I originally had one podcast that I started in 2020, March 1st, 2020. Well, March 16th, 2020, the world shut down. So I couldn't even do it anymore because the original concept was to be talking to like representatives and senators and stuff like that. And that's what I was actively doing. But like, you know, It didn't happen like that. So yeah, it feels great to finally be here and have an awesome team. I think I got the best videographer ever. I don't know. That's just my opinion. And so, it just feels really great to finally be here after years and years of trying to get the right people, trying to get people to see my vision. And yeah, but I really want to shout out to Zoya because I could not do this without her. So thank you, Zo. Thank you. Yeah.
This was 4 years in the making.
Yeah, girl, 4 years. We here now though. So what's up? We here now. That's all that matters. We here now.
4 years. That's crazy. I think people think, and you know what? I'm actually glad you said that because I think some people think that podcasts are just like, oh, let me get in front of a camera and have a mic. It's a lot of work that goes into this. Like it's a lot. It's a whole production. Obviously, we're sitting in a studio with what I think to be the best videographer in all the land, but how do you feel? Right, exactly. So it takes a lot of work. So can you just talk about the 4 years in the making part and like just the ins and outs of that?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, people think like, let me just get a camera and like start talking in a mic. And it's like, no, it's more too that goes into that. You really have to sit and think about, you got to practice. Like this is not, at least for me, like when I speak in public spaces, and I've been speaking for a minute now, I have to prepare, okay? This is an entire preparation process. I have to get my mind right. I got to be on the same page with myself. I have to really study. I have to read. I have to do all these things. And so for what I want to do, that's just that. That's 4 years in the making, but yeah, we here.
That is so cool. It's so profound because you were able to just like still stick to like your guns and like want to see it through. Some people would have gave up. And then shout out to your friend. She sounds really special and incredible. And so shout out to her. Shout out to what's her name? Zoya. Shout out to Zoya. Zoya. Yes, girl. Yes. So I want to ask 3 more questions. First, I just feel like you're such a dynamic individual that it's really hard to try to get one full conversation about every single facet of your life in the conversation. So I do want to ask just 3 more questions.
Okay, don't get crazy.
Okay, I'm not going to get crazy. All right. Will you ever run for office?
Nah, I just told you don't get crazy, and that's crazy.
Personally, I didn't think that was a crazy question. Just asking.
No, thank you. Next question, please.
Okay, fine. We're going to move on to the next one. We're going to move on. So if you could tell your younger self something, what would you tell your younger self?
Wow, that's such a good question. What would I tell my younger self? I would tell her to just do it. The people will follow. Just do it. The people will follow. I will also tell her people's opinions about you don't matter. It doesn't matter. It never mattered. Only opinion that matters is yours. And word to Jalen Hurts, you had a purpose before anybody else had an opinion. What else would I tell her? Continue loving on you, girl. Love you. Figure you out. Love you. And another thing I would say, girl, manage your money better. Manage your money better, girl. Manage your money better. So yeah, those are things that I would tell my younger self.
All right, and my very last question. The people gotta know what's up. Like, what is happening with season 2? When is it coming back? Like, what's going on? Like, I think a lot of people, you really caught them by surprise. They didn't really know that you were even gonna do this. You just randomly like drop these promo clips and people are like, what are you doing? What's going on? La, 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 la. So like, is that how you like move? Is that how you're gonna move? Like, what's up with season 2? Can we get like a little preview or something, or like something? What does that look like?
Did you just ask me season 2? You just asked me about season 2. I think you need to mind your business. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm gonna mind my business, y'all. I'm gonna mind my business. Do I plan to continue moving, like just randomly posting like the podcast clip like I did, you know? Yes, I love the element of surprise. If you know anything about me sitting here doing this interview and people that are watching it, you still don't know me. I don't want you to think that you do. You still don't know me. So yes, I will always have an element of surprise. I am always going to have something. People are always, something that my friends always tell me. They're like, I feel like I learned something new about you every time. That's the point. So yes, season 2 is on the way, but you should mind your business because you don't need to know, but it's on the way. And then element of surprise, always. You can always expect that from me every time. Absolutely. Well, Kadita, it was such an honor to interview you, girl. Like, you're amazing. You're amazing. And I cannot wait to see where this podcast takes you. Thank you so much for having me. It's truly been an honor. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope people were able to like get a little bit of me, a little piece of me based on those questions. But like I said, y'all still don't know me like that. Don't be coming over here talking about, I seen your podcast and you said da 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 da. I did say all those things, but you still have to get to know who I am as a person outside of this. So I thank you for interviewing me. And Katie forgot to say that's why she not the host of the podcast. I'm the host of the podcast. And she forgot to say the most important part. I'm the South, you the South, we the South, and the South got something to say. So thank y'all so much. This was so exciting. And I'll see y'all in season 2. Bye.